Welcome back to Benjaminutes. My name's Benjamin, and let's chat for a minute. So as many of you know, I've been telling a lot of stories about a particularly unstable ex of mine, and I kind of thought I was done talking about it considering I've told basically all of the funny stories. But I've gotten a lot of comments and messages asking if none of that made me break it off, then Jesus Christ, what did? And honestly, I'm not really sure why it went on as long as it did. I mostly blame it on the naivety that comes with an early relationship. I had no idea how relationships even worked. I mean, I still kind of don't. But I guess a lot of people got kind of invested in this story, so I'm gonna give it an official finale, and after this, I just don't want to talk about it anymore. Not that I'm upset about it, I'm just bored of these stories. Well, as it turns out, the breakup was actually kind of mutual. We both had our own issues with the relationship, so it just seemed like it was gonna be kind of a nice breakup. And it wasn't a nice breakup. But don't get me wrong, it wasn't all that bad at first. In fact, for the first week, we just went our separate ways and didn't talk anymore. And yeah, I said the first week. A week later, things changed. She started contacting me again after a week, and I just was not comfortable with this. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against having healthy relationships with your exes, you know, being good friends with exes. It's just that I had seen this person as more than a friend for so long that I just needed a little bit of time to kind of, you know, get out of that headspace. And her response was, in her own words, I don't want to lose what we have. Like, what are you trying to, like, preserve here? Like, the relationship's gone. That ship has fucking sailed. And I thought we had both agreed on that. Anyway, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't just end the conversation. Even after I stopped replying, she kept sending messages. And I was like, all right, maybe if I just block her on Skype, she'll take the hint that I just need space and she needs to leave me alone. But no, that did the exact opposite. It's like I had blown the world's most explosive powder keg of all time. It's like the little engine that could, but like the little powder keg that could. This little fucker had been preparing its whole life, and now it was fucking ready to explode. She started contacting me on every possible platform. YouTube, Tumblr, Facebook, even motherfucking Facebook wasn't safe anymore. I blocked her on all of those accounts, but then it turns out that she had other accounts that I didn't even know about. She started contacting me on like cosplay accounts and old roleplay accounts that she had, like every account that she could think of. And it didn't stop there. She started creating new accounts on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube to talk to me. Now here I thought that creating special accounts just to be able to talk to me was weird enough as is, but she took it a step further. After months of her being quiet, I started getting messages from this completely random Tumblr URL that I had never heard of before. I kind of just assumed they were a friendly person who enjoyed the things that I make. And so I responded, you know, we had some friendly conversations back and forth. It seemed pretty normal and okay. But now it's time for a pop quiz. Was this new person A, her, B, her, C, her, or D, her? She had created a brand new personality and spent the past 3 months building up this profile so it didn't look fake. After like 10 messages of back and forth, I ended up figuring out it was her because her typing style is just that recognizable. So I blocked that profile, but it didn't end there. This was around the time that I had started first blowing up a little bit for all my cosplays. And she started filling my tag with messages to me. What the fuck? And honestly, some of the things she started putting in my tag just really started to piss me off. Because it turns out around this time I had a very negative outlook on myself. It turns out dating an asshole who tries to control every single aspect of your fucking life can do that to you. And she knew this, so she was filling my tag with advice on depression, and of all things started posting videos from Onision. For those of you who don't know who Onision is, I just don't really care for him. He's got some very victim-blaming ideologies.
It doesn't accomplish anything. It just makes everything worse when you let it get to you.
I'm not here to like talk shit on Onision. I don't care enough about him to start that kind of shit. Suffice to say, I just don't agree with what he says. But in these particular videos, he was talking about how if you're depressed, you just need to have a more happy outlook on life, and it's basically your fault, which obviously isn't true. Fuck that guy. And this is when I started to get a little bit angry. I didn't want the whole internet knowing about these feelings of mine, and now here she was just broadcasting it to anyone who would listen. Anyone who was looking up my cosplays would have seen these personal facts about myself. I mean, I don't care anymore, but at the time I did. I did everything I could, though, to make sure I maintained a calm attitude and just politely asked her to take down the posts and just leave me out of her life. And she did. Or so I thought. Fast forward to about a year after we had broken up. It had been half a year since the last incident, so I thought maybe I was finally in the clear. But around that time, I got a new phone and I ended up losing a lot of my contacts. And after a year of having been broken up, she texted me again. But I didn't have her contact, so I didn't know who it was. So I asked, you know, who is this? Who's texting me right now? And she did the whole cheeky like, oh, well, wouldn't you like to know? Like, no, I really wouldn't. If you're not gonna tell me who you are and how you have my personal number, I'm not just gonna let you fuck with me. But I ended up accidentally figuring out who it was. Because at that same exact time, I was texting a friend of mine. They had the same exact area codes and were coincidentally the only people that I knew in that particular area. So the only other person it could be was her. And I honestly don't recall ever being so angry in my entire life after I made that realization. I wish I still had the conversation to show you guys, but suffice to say, there were a lot of very colorful words in my response. However, it's been about 4 years since we broke up now, so I think I finally got rid of her. Fucking fingers crossed. But I swear to God, if I just accidentally jinxed it, I might actually combust. Just gonna become the Human Torch up in this bitch. But also, I'm not in any way an expert on relationships. In fact, I'm probably one of the last sources you should use for general relationship advice. But since being in this relationship, I've learned a lesson that's been true through every relationship I've been in hence. If you ever feel like uncomfortable with someone, or you feel like you're being smothered by them, or just really any kind of like majorly negative emotion towards them, and they're not willing to at least listen to you about this and hear what you have to say, then that relationship probably isn't going to end well for either of you. I can't really give you a black and white, you know, who's right and who's wrong kind of situation. In every relationship, if someone was uncomfortable with something and the other person wasn't willing to do something about it, things just didn't end well. I was made to do things that I just really wasn't comfortable with doing. I know people hear relationship advice from personalities on YouTube like all the time, but if you take one thing away from this, just ask yourself if the person you're with makes you feel comfortable. If you can't absolutely and undoubtedly say yes, there's probably a problem. The person that you're with should make you feel comfortable and safe, like you will be listened to and they will respect you. Anyway, I'm done preaching. I'll stop giving advice. And the next video will probably be funnier than this. I can't believe this was all spawned by her saying she was possessed by a cat demon. Usually taking them down one at a time to kiss them, and then putting them back up, and then taking the next one down, and so on. Turns out Donald Trump is also actually Hitler. Wait, shit, no, it's actually a little too real too. Why is it so hard to make hyperbolic statements about